Welcome to the Diva D-Town. Welcome to the Diva D-Town, where bold, confident women embrace life unapologetically. From love and sex to wellness and reinvention, we keep it raw, real, and powerful. No filters, no limits. Just fearless conversations to help you thrive. Let's dive in with Diva Mia.
Well, hello. This is Diva Mia, and today we're going to discuss a little bit about your libido. Why does your libido seem to change overnight as you get older? It just switches. Sometimes it's not just hormones, ladies. Sometimes it has other things related to it. So today we're going to focus on your sex, your desire, your brain chemistry. It can also be related to stress, sleep. Sometimes it's even resentment in a relationship. You need to know how to get your spark back after 40 if you want to sustain your marriage. One of the big complaints I hear from men is that when women are in there between 35 and 45, their spark seems to diminish, sometimes even all the way up to 50. Women go through a lot of hormonal changes, but there's also a lot of other changes that happen that we're going to discuss today. So have you ever gone from wanting sex all the time, enjoying sex, thinking about sex, to suddenly thinking, I could honestly take it or leave it? That's your libido. When you have a desire that diminishes like that, you may still love your partner, you may still be attracted to them, but your hormones have even been checked by your doctor, and he says everything looks normal, so you don't know what's going on with your libido. But your libido seems to have packed a suitcase and left without forwarding its address. You're trying to find out what the heck is going on and you're confused. So if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or even 70s, some people wait until they're 70 till their libido goes down. Somebody has probably already given you the standard explanation. It's your hormones. A lot of times it may be, but sometimes it's not. Because hormones are only one piece of the libido puzzle. Ladies, I know for a fact, even when I had low testosterone, when everybody said my libido should be nothing, I actually had a high libido. Sometimes it matters who you're with. Sexual desire doesn't just begin between your legs, okay? It's so many aspects because we are so mental when it comes to sexual desire as well. The majority of it begins in your ears, between your ears, ladies, actually. So your brain is the number one reason why your sexual desire may decrease. Here's the thing. If you don't feel safe in a relationship, your sexual desire will go away. If you feel like the other person's not respecting you, your sexual desire will go away. If you think they're cheating on you, or if you think something might be going on the side, or they yelling at you all day long, you're not going to have sexual desire for the person. I was in a relationship one time where my ex would yell at me and want to fight all day long. And then he would, when he has sex with him at night, because he could turn it on and off like that. I couldn't turn it on and off like that. So if you're getting like verbally abused during the day, your libido is going to go down. Or if there's things that they say that just drive you nuts, that can decrease your libido as well. We are a tricky female species, if you will, because we need mental stimulation. If we have too much stress, maybe stress at work, stress in the house, stress with the kids, that decreases our libido too. That's why a lot of times women, right after they have children, they're too stressed to have sex because they're constantly looking around to make sure the baby's okay. And then there's sleep. If you're not getting sleep, just like when you might have a shorter fuse when you don't get sleep, if you're not getting sleep, your libido is going to decrease for sure. There are so many relationship dynamics, from how they treat you to how you feel respected, that can also decrease your libido. And then how you feel about your body. Are you comfortable in your body? Do you love yourself? That can affect your libido. There's tons of medications, and a lot of women in their 40s and 50s and even longer, they're on medications. So that can decrease your libido. And then there are things that happen during menopause, lady, that there's physical discomfort. Some women's vaginal walls decrease in thickness, so when you have sex, it's painful, or you might even bleed from it. So that can decrease your libido. Do you truly have an emotional connection with the person? Emotional connection is all about safety, trust, and respect for women. If you don't give that to a woman, she's not going to connect with you. Yes, your hormones can also influence your brain as well. So there's that too. Let's move on and figure out how to move from please don't touch me to yes, please. Today, the Diva Details, we're talking about your libido and why it can seemingly change overnight. Women sometimes blame themselves for it. I think a lot of pressure is put on women to perform sexually, even when they don't feel like it. I do know I was in a situation where I didn't feel like it and I'd have sex anyway. That kind of kills your libido for the future because then it doesn't feel natural. It can change overnight. You can actually start to get your desire back, but you have to work at it. There's so many things you have to look into in order to get your libido back. Your brain is your biggest sex organ, ladies. We tend to think about libido as something purely physical, but estrogen, testosterone, blood flow, menopause, vaginal dryness, all of those things matter. But desire is influenced by your brain. Do you desire the other person? So think about it. What happens when you first meet someone you're incredibly attracted to? You're anticipating their texts. You're thinking about your next date. I mean, it might be nice if you still do that with the person you're with. You notice their smell. Maybe their smell is really nice. Their voice, the way they touch you. Maybe it gives you goosebumps. There's novelty to it. I know some people chase novelty in relationships, and that's why they don't stay in relationships. But there's some type of anticipation and excitement to it. Your brain loves that connection. There's so much connection that you can get with that. There's so many combinations. So now let's fast forward to you've been in a relationship for, say, 5 years. You know exactly what time they're going to come home. You know what they're going to say. You know exactly how sex is probably going to be. It might be boring, especially if they do the same thing over and over again. I know I'm an Aquarius, and when I'm in a sexual relationship and the guy just wants to do the same thing over and over again, it gets boring. You have to liven it up a little bit. I find that women, we have to liven it up because, quite frankly, the men aren't very creative sometimes in that category. Exactly how it's probably going to end is kind of a drawback. If you know how it's going to start, how it's going to begin, how it's going to be in the middle, you're not going to be so excited about it. But if you liven it up and maybe wear some lingerie or you do something in your hot tub or you do something else, that makes it funner. Changing positions also helps, but you've got to get a partner that wants to participate that way, or you got to have a partner. So mystery has left the building like 5 years in. That doesn't mean the relationship is bad. It just means that there's not a lot of desire or newness or novelty because you already know what to anticipate. This is one reason that someone can have a huge desire for sex generally, but suddenly experience less attraction to someone or sexually thoughts in a new context. Their body isn't necessarily broken. They're just not that excited to be with the same person again. There are people that say this is the reason why they cheat, but I'm a believer that cheaters just cheat because they are who they are. But if you're not excited or you don't want to have sex with someone, you're going to have to figure out why. And there are so many reasons. You just need to wake up your brain and get it excited again. And I am all for adding fun. There's toys you can add into the bedroom. That can be exciting. There's new and creative things that can fix things to spice up the relationship. So don't wait until 10:30 at night when you're both exhausted, though, to suddenly decide you want to become passionate. Because what will happen is one of you may be too exhausted. And ladies, if you're with a man and above 45, you may have a man that when he gets tired, he can't even perform. So you need to start earlier. You need to start around 5 to 7 o'clock. Honestly, dinner time is actually really good for the older men, I will say, because if you wait till later in the evening, they're just not as available, or they're too tired, or they just want to go to sleep. And if you've been with a person for a really long time, sometimes that happens. I know I was at a position where I wanted to have sex a couple times a day, and the partner I was with was comfortable just once every other day. And to me, it was just, we had a missed libido match. So sometimes you got to get the guy livened up as well. So sometimes sending a flirtatious message during the day, planning a date, flirting with them during the day is a great way to go. And guys, you can do the same thing with the ladies. Wear something that makes you feel really sexy. Change the environment. Maybe light some candles, try something different, get a glass of wine or something, but build anticipation throughout the day. Because great sex often begins hours before anybody gets naked, which means you've got to respect each other. You've got to treat each other well. Because if you're disrespecting each other or not treating each other well, that can kill a libido. If you're yelling at each other and fighting, you're not going to want to have sex that day. It just doesn't happen. Stress can also put sex at the bottom of your priority list, and that's a big one. Because when you're stressed out, and imagine that your brain has 25 browser tabs open. Let's think about this. Let's think about our brain as crazy with browser tabs. One of them's work, children. Maybe you've got parents to deal with, bills to pay. You might be behind the bills, your health, his health. The house is a mess. You have appointments. You've got deadlines. You've got laundry to do. Because, this is adulting, right? This is what adulting is. You've got email that you forgot to answer. You've got a pile of laundry in the corner. You've got dogs, you got cats, you got fish, you got a zoo. Sometimes somebody said 3 days ago, like if you're an overthinker, sometimes 3 or 4 days ago, you're still thinking about something somebody else said. Now your partner walks in and starts rubbing your shoulders. He's thinking, I want to have sex. Your brain's thinking, absolutely not. I have 25 tabs open in my brain. I've got deadlines. I've got things to do. And the kids are yelling and the dogs are barking. So you've got to take a breath. Sex is very important to both men and women. And one thing I will say, the amount of sex that actually occurs tends to be at the level of the one that has the least sexual desire, not the most sexual desire. So whichever person in the relationship has the least sexual desire, that'll be how often you have sex. And chronic stress can interfere with sexual interest and arousal. So just remember that. There's another component here that matters tremendously for women, and it's the amount of mental load we have. If you've got so much going on, if you've got a project due at work, if you've got to pick up the kids, take them to all their activities, that's a lot of mental load for one person. And then you got to come home and cook and clean. And ladies, if you're a single mom, I feel your pain because when you have that much mental load, it's hard to focus on having sex with someone and getting all sexy and making sure that things are perfect and your hair is done and your nails are done and you've got your eyelashes on if you do that thing. And you've got makeup and you're looking all sexy in your little lingerie. That's a lot to deal with. So if one person is carrying most of the load or carrying the entire load and you're dating someone or in a relationship, it's a lot to do. So if one person's carrying most of the planning, remembering, scheduling, and you're married and you're cleaning and parenting and emotional management in a household, it can be difficult to instantly transition from household CEO, business CEO to a sexual goddess. I remember when I was the primary breadwinner, the primary caretaker, the primary financial person, and the primary person in the household. And I was married, and I was the primary at everything. And I had brain overload. And when I did, it was really hard for me to say, oh, yes, I need to take a break and go have sex for a half hour. That's really tough to do. You may need a buffer between responsibility and intimacy. Maybe you get in the habit of taking a shower together, or you go for a walk together, and that takes you out of the environment of craziness, gives you a little bit of exercise, and you can relax while you're walking. And when you come back, you have a little bit of peace, and the kids are already in bed, and you have time. So go for a walk, take the kids with you, as long as they're not crazy and stirring things up. And then everybody go to bed, and then you have time for peace and time for you and your partner. Exercise helps too, because it helps to alleviate stress, whether you're doing yoga, weightlifting, or some type of cardio exercise. That helps as well. And put the phones away. I'm a big believer of trying to get the phones out of the bedroom. I've moved all my chargers into the other room now because when I have my phone next to my bed, it's too easy to pick it up. So move the phones away. If you don't have a job where you have to answer the phone in the middle of the night, put it somewhere else. And then change your clothes, maybe take a shower. I will say it's kind of gross to have a sweaty guy all the time. Men, if you can take a shower for women, if you're one of those ladies that sweats a lot, take a shower as well right before sex. It makes things funner. It does help the olfactory, and smell is so important during sex. Odor, body odor. If you have a lot of body odor, you need to take care of that before you have sex. So spend about 20 minutes alone after maybe your walk and after you've changed clothes or taken a shower, and listen to music and relax. It'll help with your stress load. It'll help you sleep better, and it'll help you get more in the mood. And then ask your partner if you can, if he's a partner that actually does take up responsibility, if they can take something off your plate, and learn to say no. There is no reason we have to do as much as we do. Learn to say no. The objective is not to magically manufacture desire, platitude of things that are going on. It's to give your nervous system an opportunity to change gears. So you're not trying to force yourself into desire. You're trying to relax. These are all the mental things that you need to work on. Yes, I want you to go check out your hormones. But if your hormones are regulated or you're on hormone therapy and you're still not getting a libido, it's mental. A lot of it's mental. Or it could be the medications you're on, which we'll talk about as well. But you need to find your desire. Sometimes you lose desire for a person temporarily or permanently, and that can happen. And then you've got to say, okay, am I stressed out? Is he just not picking up his share? Are we working too hard? You need to figure out what you can do to come back together, especially if you're married to the person. You may also have a sleep problem. One thing that happens to men is a lot of them have sleep apnea, and that can impact erectile dysfunction, and so can snoring. Whenever a man has erectile dysfunction, you might want to look towards the sleep problem first. So it can be huge. If you're sleeping 5 hours a night, waking up repeatedly, I recommend getting either an Oura ring or one of the other rings that track your sleep so you can see how often you're waking up and how much sleep you're actually getting. If you're dealing with hot flashes or snoring from your partner or snoring from you, even insomnia, it wakes you up in the middle of the night or keeps you up late and your body can be exhausted. That is so not good for your health long term, and it can also help you put on weight. So you need to make sure you're getting sleep. It has to be a priority. Sleep is the basic foundation for all health. If you're not sleeping enough, figure out how to fix this. Sometimes when someone says, I'm never interested in sex anymore, the first thing you should be asking them is, hey, are you interested in sex at 10:30 at night besides sleeping? So like at 10:30, are they like on their computer? At 10:30 at night, are they doom scrolling on their phone? Because that matters. Timing matters. Maybe they have no energy at 10:30. Try to see if maybe at 7 o'clock they can be interested in sex. And some people are more of a morning people, so they might want to have it at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. But if you're trying to have sex at 11 at night and you're blaming your libido because you're exhausted, try early in the morning. Sex is important and you need to make it a priority. So if early in the morning works, that's amazing. Quit assuming that sex belongs at bedtime. It doesn't. It can be middle of the day. You can have a noon, or you can meet your husband somewhere at lunch or your boyfriend and have sex during the day. Try mornings, afternoons, weekends, after a nap, after exercising, whenever your energy naturally peaks. Sex does not have office hours. If you're consistently exhausted because you're getting little sleep, it's worth discussing with your healthcare provider or your doctor because you need to make sure this is a priority. Because if you don't get enough sleep, your whole health is going to break down. I do think tracking your sleep is the first step, but if your partner says you snore, that you have sleep apnea, you really need to get that fixed. It doesn't matter size because there's women that are 100 pounds that have sleep apnea. So the other thing is medication affects it. Sometimes depression or a thyroid problem can affect your sleep. And some people will have anemia when they're going through menopause or menopause symptoms. And all of these medical issues can trigger extreme fatigue. You might have an autoimmune that triggers fatigue. So don't automatically call it aging because you just don't know until you figure it out. A lot of blood work can be done, and you can determine a lot just from having your blood work done. You can determine your levels for testosterone and estrogen and progesterone. So get that all looked at. But one of the libido killers that nobody wants to talk about is resentment. So if you're in a relationship and your partner cheated, it might be a libido killer because you resent them. We're going to talk about some other uncomfortable stuff so you can optimize your hormones. But if you're resenting your partner, there's a lot you're going to have to work through. You may need to have counseling. You may need to have couples counseling. If your partner's cheated on you and decided to stay with them, maybe you need to get to counseling and find out why they cheated. Because most of the time when people cheat, it's because they have a hole in them and they're insecure or they constantly need external validation from other people because they're little boys. So realize that when people cheat, if you're going to stick with them, don't just expect it to get fixed. They need to go to counseling and you need to go to counseling with them. So you probably need to go to a lot of counseling. If you want to stick out with them and you're married and you want to stay with them, I highly recommend that. Some of the things you can do though is buy lingerie, light candles, take a vacation together. But if you're lying next to somebody and you're deeply resenting them, your libido is going to say, nope, I'm not having sex with them. I don't like them anymore. It can be something simple like your partner never helps around the house and you're exhausted because you're working full time. You're taking care of the kids. You come home and you cook. You come home and you clean. The kids go off to school and they don't drop them off. They don't pick them up. They come home from work and they sit on the couch with a beer watching a football game. And that can create a lot of resentment too. When you're in a relationship, there needs to be assistance from your partner. I will say a lot of men aren't very good at that, ladies. So if you don't feel appreciated for all the stuff you do, then there's going to be resentment. I will say it's kind of funny though. Men don't care. Men mentally, they don't care whether they have resentment or not. They will still have sex with you. But for us women, we need to feel respected and no resentment. Sometimes they also repeatedly dismiss your feelings. Like you bring something up that, hey, I don't like the fact that you're checking out other women. Or you're doom scrolling all the time on the phone. Can you spend more time with me? And they just dismiss your feelings. Or, hey, can you help do the laundry? Because half of it's yours. And then the other thing, again, I mentioned earlier is maybe your trust was damaged. Maybe they broke promises or they had an affair. And when that happens, your trust gets damaged. So if you're with a person like that and you've chosen to stay with them, You need to work those things out. Any type of resentment truly needs to go through therapy. I know people are like, oh, I don't want to spend money for counseling, but do you want to spend money for a divorce? Because if there's a lot of resentment in a relationship, you may eventually get divorced. So remember that. And affection, if it only appears when they want sex and they don't treat you well, they don't hold your hand, they don't maybe smack you on the butt a little bit if you enjoy that, or show any type of intimacy except in the bedroom, it will create resentment as well. I know I was in a relationship with a man that he wanted to do the same old thing over and over again, and that caused resentment for me. Like, he's like, okay, I'm going to give you a quick massage and then I want sex. I'm going to give you a quick massage and then I want sex. And it was driving me nuts. It created extra resentment. Sometimes, ladies, we feel like their mom instead of their lover because they're not stepping up. They aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. You ask them to take care of things and they don't do it. If they have sleep apnea, maybe they don't go to the doctor. If their testosterone's low, maybe they don't get it fixed. You remind them and then you feel like nagging and that you're their mom and you can't do everything for men. So realize we shouldn't have to mom these men that were not parented right. They need to step up and learn if they weren't parented right, it's time for them to parent themselves. Because we can't be mom to our men and our children and everything around the house and then take care of our work as well. And it may also be that you have 500 tiny little resentments for all the things that go on, and they've never been resolved. Because when you talk to your partner, they dismiss your feelings. And that's a tough one because you're in a relationship where you're getting dismissed and your concerns aren't getting validated, even though they're big concerns. And sometimes they're little tiny things like, hey, can you put your underwear in the hamper when you drop it right next to it? I've had that happen. Can you put the toilet seat down? Can you put the cat back on the toothpaste? Little nice things like that they disrespect you will cause resentment. So desire doesn't exist in an emotional vacuum. For most people, you need to also feel emotionally safe and valued and respected. That affects sexual interest as well. If you're in a relationship where the guy's making fun of your butt or says you look like crap and then wants to have sex with you, there's not a lot of attraction there. So that's important as well to have this distinction here. You can love somebody and still not desire them. You can care for someone and still let them go. Love and desire overlap, but they are not identical. So here's some quick fixes that help address the real problem. If you're angry, you need to talk about it. You need to talk about the anger. If you can't talk to your partner, you need to talk to a therapist and figure out a way to work out the anger with your partner. If trust is damaged, you got to address the trust because I will say when people violate your trust, is one of the hardest things to get back. Honestly, the trust will never be the same. There's always going to be a question of, are they going to show up in time? Are they going to cheat on me? Are they going to be there when I need them? The trust, once it's gone, it's really hard, ladies, to get back. If you're overwhelmed, you need to redistribute your responsibilities to other people. Maybe you need to get the kids to do some chores. I'm a Gen Xer, and growing up, we did a lot of stuff. We took care of households. We did a lot of things. I mean, at least my family did. We took care of pretty much everything. Typically, both parents were working. So the kids, I mean, there were a lot of latchkey kids, if you know what that means, where kids would come home from school with a key around their neck or like a little wrist key holder. And they would take care of doing everything. They'd get home, they'd make their own meals, they'd do the dishes, they'd clean up after themselves, they'd do the laundry. And kids today, they don't. And we put a lot of pressure on the ladies now. I will say, I think there's a lot more responsibility that we take on as women than we used to because we're working full time. We're running businesses and we're still taking care of everything. So I would say try to get the kids to do more. If you feel ignored, tell your partner. If you're working full time and he's unemployed and you come home and the house is a mess, there's a problem. And that needs to be worked out. If you're working and you ask them to help out and they refuse, there's a problem. If the same conflicts keeps repeating itself, couples counseling is a great way, or sex therapy even. There's sex therapy for people that have issues around sex and need to work them out. More and more useful, there's also supplements to boost female libido. These are some things that actually help, but sometimes you see that the results of the problems that existed everywhere else. And the bedroom, when you see it in the bedroom, it's just impossible to ignore, but the problems exist outside the bedroom. That's where they start. So the other issue is your body may have changed. So let's talk something about many women quietly experience around 40 years old that your body's changed. You may have gained weight. Your breasts may change. They may be drooping down to your belly button. Your skin may have changed. You may have hot flashes with menopause. There are women that go through starting in their 40s with menopause. Some women even start in their 30s with menopause. Pregnancy can change things in your body. You may feel different. And then if you had a C-section, surgeries can change things, and other surgeries can change things. So sometimes your internal picture of yourself hasn't caught up to the reality. You might walk into the bathroom, catch yourself naked in the mirror, and immediately start criticizing every little piece of you. Then 10 minutes later, your partner wants you to feel sexual, but you were just judging yourself in the bathroom. So your partner really needs to help with that intimacy as well. It's a difficult mental transition. You don't have to look like you did in 25 to have incredible sex at 45 or 50 or 55. And that's the thing. Women in their 75s are having incredible sex. I personally am having great sex in my 50s. I think my sex is better in my 50s than it was when I was 25. I was so apprehensive at 25, and I'm so much more free now. I know exactly what I want. So sex in your 50s, especially if you have a strong libido, ladies, is amazing. You just need to find the right partner. But feeling comfortable in your own body matters. And yes, you may not be perfect, and you may not have the body you had when you were 25. And that's okay. Because I can guarantee you the man you're with doesn't either. We're so much pressure on ourselves to perform and look perfect. But if you can just be comfortable in who you are now, and if you want to change things. But love who you are now. Some things that may help you feel more attractive is not just attractive for someone else, but attractive to yourself is exercise. I'm a big proponent of weightlifting. Ladies, as we get older, we need our muscle mass. So weightlifting really helps. Get your hair done. Buy lingerie maybe that makes you feel sexy or fits current for your body. Wear some perfume men are very visual, but they also like a good fragrance. Don't overdo it, but wear your partner's favorite perfume. That might help you feel sexy as well. Then take care of your skin. If you have breakouts or a pimple right in the middle of your nose, you're not going to feel very sexy. So take care of your skin. If you have saggy skin, there's things you can do with different types of things. There's supplements you can take. Some creams work a little. There's even plastic surgery is not a big thing. I mean, people are doing it now more and more, but figure out what makes you work. Put on an outfit that makes you walk differently or makes you feel sexy. Whatever makes you look in the mirror and think, wow, there she is. I look beautiful. Because confidence can be incredibly erotic for you and your partner. It'll turn heads when you're confident. When you walk in with your shoulders drooping and you're not confident in who you are in your life, it's not a big turn on for anyone, not for you and not for them. But yes, you know what? Let's skip to the next part. And this is that hormones still matter. So the fact of the matter is your testosterone can be very low, but if you're mentally into someone, your libido will still be high. But your hormones, your testosterone, estrogen can be really high or normal. And you're not into them, so your libido can be low. So let's bring hormones back into the conversation because I certainly not saying that they don't matter, but I think the mental component of it matters more. So during perimenopause and menopause, hormones change greatly, and it can affect your sexual function. Now, I had a friend the other day tell me that she doesn't want to have sex with anyone. She's very happy that her sexual desire has decreased. She's like, I don't want to take testosterone because I don't want my sexual desire to increase. Well, one of the things testosterone does, ladies, is it's not just for sexual desire. It's for muscle mass. It's for skin elasticity. And it's for mental health. So you need hormones to balance all this out. And when you don't have enough hormones, it's going to affect your mental capacity, your memory, maybe your alertness. So lower estrogen can contribute to vaginal dryness too. I had a problem with that. However, if you're with the right guy, your vaginal dryness problems tends to go away. But there's different types of lubricants you can use. There's the O shot kind of helps a little bit. If you've heard of the O shot, it's a shot to help with vaginal dryness and libido. And it basically allows you to have better orgasms when you're older. Your tissue changes down there too. So estrogen is important to make sure the tissue stays supple and it'll help your comfort during sex. Because if you're dry or your tissue's getting thinned out, it's going to hurt. And if sex hurts, guess what? Your brain learns that sex is painful and your brain doesn't want to have it anymore. So if sex equals pain, you're going to be like, nope, I'm not into it. Your brain isn't going to enthusiastically request more of something that's hurting you every single time. Figure out what you need to do. There's even red light therapy that people are doing now for the skin inside. I've seen those types of tools. There's a lot of things you can do. And hormones changes can also interact with your mood Even your sleep, if you're having the sleep problems that we talked about earlier, that can be a hormone issue, especially your progesterone, and then your sexual desire, of course. And a lot of women don't realize that you may need to look at hormone therapy in your young 40s or even late 30s, because testosterone may be relevant for some women as well earlier than you think. Our testosterone goes down as well. And evaluating and treating low sexual desire requires individual medical assessment. You need to have your blood work done. It needs to be tracked every single month. It's not a rather chasing the latest fix or a lab number. You need to, it's not just how your numbers are, it's also how you feel. And if intercourse suddenly hurts, or if you're dry down there, or you've lost your sexual desire, your libido may have changed dramatically because of the pain. So talk to your gynecologist or a clinical expert. There are also specialists that specialize in hormones and menopause and all types of sexual medicine. This is part of life. Sex is a normal part of life. When you're not having sex with your partner, it's a sad thing. You want to make sure that sex is good. There are treatments for many of these problems. If your doctor dismisses your sexual complaint, then you might need to find a different doctor. If they just say, oh, you're getting older, your sex is going to decline. No. And I'm in my 50s, ladies, and I'm letting you know that my sexual desire has increased greatly. You're allowed to find another doctor if they're dismissing you. It's kind of like if you're with a boyfriend and they're dismissing you, it might be time to find another boyfriend as well. Sexual health doesn't have an expiration date. You can have sex, ladies, well into your 80s, 90s. There are women having sex in retirement homes. I will say it's easier to have sex with a younger man because a lot of times men, their sexual desire may be there, but their stuff may not work anymore, or it may take a lot longer to get it active. Ladies, once men pass 55 or 60, they may have some issues. So realize that even with testosterone, some men will have problems later on in life. If you're single and dating, maybe look a little younger, because we can have sex a lot longer than men can, unless they have assistance, if that makes sense. And then check your medications. This one surprises people. Certain medications can affect your libido. It can also affect how your orgasms and your sexual response. Antidepressants are also well known for sexual side effects. So if you're on any antidepressants, take a look at that. Because medications, it can affect your desire. It can affect your arousal, your orgasms as well. So if your libido changed around the same time you started a medication, or maybe a few weeks after, don't assume that the timing is just coincidence. And also don't just abruptly stop the medication, because that can be bad too. But talk to whoever prescribed it and say, hey, does this medication affect my libido? You can also look it up online, because a lot of times it does, but don't stop cold turkey. But it's a legitimate medical question. But stop waiting for spontaneous desire. You might have had spontaneous desire or looked at a guy when you're in your 20s and say, wow, I'm ready to go. But you may not have that later on in life. You may need a little bit of effort put in. This may be one of the most important concepts that this entire episode is, that a lot of us think that desire is supposed to happen like this, that we have desire and then they touch us and they get us aroused. Maybe they have oral sex with you or some type of foreplay, and then you have sex. But for most people, especially in long-term relationships, desire can be more responsive. It seems more like this. So you have a connection and then they touch you and then you're aroused and then you have desire. It may take that connection and the respect, again, the mental focus, in order to have that desire. You weren't necessarily walking in thinking about, oh, I need sex, but then you're connected and then they touch you and that might lead to something. But then you start kissing, you're relaxed. If your body's relaxed and suddenly you're like, oh, hello, I'm excited. That doesn't mean forcing yourself to have sex that you don't want, but because consent always matters, ladies. But it means recognizing that you don't necessarily have to begin at maximum desire. You can have a little bit of desire and get turned on the way. So sometimes desire develops after you enjoy a little bit of touching and then intimacy begins, and then you get more desire as you go about it. So here's another big one for me. I'm an Aquarius, and I really don't like having sex the same way every time. And I've been with men that do, and it gets a little boring. So I try to spice it up. You need that connection too. A lot of people like to cuddle afterwards. You need to let them know what you like and that you want some variety. Sometimes you tell them and they don't listen. It's a little hard with men that aren't very creative, but you need to drive those relationships as well. And you need to drive the bedroom, not just the men. So when everybody wonders why desire disappears, well, let's try to spice it up a little bit, because your brain does like novelty. And novelty doesn't mean you need to completely reinvent your sex life over and over again every week, because there are habitual things, especially if you're having sex every day. And a lot of people in their 50s are having sex every day, especially if they have a high sex drive. So if you're having sex every day, a weekend away, maybe go on a trip or go to a different room or have a date night, give each other a massage or put on some new lingerie and open up about your fantasies. I think a lot of times people don't talk about their fantasies enough. I have some crazy fantasies that I'm not going to discuss here, but there are a lot of fantasies that people have and people don't want to talk about. Take a little bit more time. I know we are so rushed because we have so much going on. And it's like, okay, we only have 20 minutes or the kids are going to be home in a half hour. You're so rushed to have sex that sometimes you need to take time for each other. And also change who initiates it. I was in a relationship where I felt like I was always initiating. I said, look, I'm not going to push anymore because I feel like I'm initiating all the time. And his sex drive was way lower than mine. I felt like I needed to stop initiating all the time and let him drive more. One of the things is then we had sex less, but at least I think he felt more in control of the situation. But you also need to be more playful. So start flirting again. Remember flirting. People flirt consistently and constantly while you're dating. Do you touch each other's hands? Do you come up behind and snuggle them? Do you play with them a little bit? All that flirting is fun stuff that helps a relationship. It helps develop a deeper bond with your partner and hopefully gives you more of a flirtatious thing and leads to more intimacy. Because people that flirt constantly while dating, they sometimes stop completely once they're in a committed relationship, which is so sad. You should be flirting with your partner through your marriage for the rest of your life. There should be so much fun with that partner that it never stops. I really believe that. If it's already stopped and you're still dating, don't expect it to just pick up because you got married. Remember what you're marrying into. If you don't like the touching, that's fine. Some people's love language is not touching. Find out what you do enjoy and make sure you're both on the same page. And don't stop dating the person you're sleeping with. You should still be going on dates. It shouldn't be boring at home either. There's a 48-hour libido reset that I found that I wanted to share. So if your libido's disappeared, this is something practical that you can do. It's not a miracle cure. It's not a hormone hack. It's just an experiment. So protect your sleep tonight. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you get at least 8 hours of sleep. Some people say they don't need it, but I'm saying if you can get whatever optimal sleep is better. So give yourself enough time to actually rest, okay? Then tomorrow, move your body. Go weightlifting, swim, dance, stretch for sure, especially in our older age. I think we need the extra stretching. Then reduce your mental load for the day. Just take it easy. Maybe have a spa day. Finish something that's been hanging over you or delegate it out, or go for a spa day and take care of yourself. Do something that makes you feel attractive. Maybe get your hair done, new clothes, different grooming, whatever works for you. Then create anticipation. Send your partner some flirtatious texts. Sometimes you need to remind them that you're lovers too, not just merely household coworkers. So say, hey, you want to come home and have some fun or you want to play. Don't just give them tasks to do all the time. Then remove the performance requirements. So here's the thing. I think touch doesn't automatically have to become intercourse, but you should invent new ways of enjoying each other. Kiss, massage, cuddle, explore each other's bodies. Take pressure off the outcome. It's kind of nice to see what they enjoy and ask them, talk to them about it. And then pay attention to what happens. Did your desire increase as you talk to each other? Did you feel nothing happened? Did you want to do something different? Did you try new toys? Did you feel irritated when your partner touched you, or did it gross you out? I mean, that's happened to people too. Do you want intimacy but your body wasn't responding? That might be a sign that there's a hormonal issue. If there's different clues, you need to write them down and record it. But your libido is your information about your body. So listen to it. If your libido suddenly disappears, ask yourself, what changed immediately before it happened? So did your sleep change? Did your stress increase? Did you start a new medication? Menopause is also a big one. Are your menopause systems getting higher? Or is sex uncomfortable? Are you having pain? And if you're in a relationship, did something change in the relationship? Did you start losing trust? I know I was in a relationship where I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me, and that affects your trust. Did you stop feeling connected because you're reading their body language or something? Did your body image change? Have you gained weight? I know in relationships, sometimes people gain weight and it does decrease your image of yourself. remember that it's about mental as well as physical. It's also about routine. Don't allow the sexual routine to become boring, or are you simply just exhausted? I think exhaustion is probably the number one killer of sex drive. At least it was for me. When I was exhausted, it wasn't happening. It's really hard for me to want to have sex when I haven't slept and I just worked 12 or 14 hours. It's really hard. Then I came home to clean because my partner didn't do anything, and it's just exhausting. Instead of asking what's wrong with me, ask what has changed in my life? What can I fix? What can I delegate out? What can I hire out? I mean, if you're working a lot, can you get a cleaning person? If you're working a lot, and you have enough money, can you get a cook? Can you have a friend drive your kids and pick them up to school? See ways if you can start delegating, especially if you're exhausted. We should not be this exhausted in our 40s, but for some reason, ladies, I think we take on way too much stuff. Learn to say no to people. You don't have to go to every dinner party. After 40, it's not supposed to look exactly like our libido did in our 20s, but I think my libido is stronger than it was in my 20s because I'm more relaxed. I'm not as stressed as I was, and I can take time to have the sex that I want to have. I think sex in our 40s, 50s, and 60s is amazing. I know part of the reason why a lot of men are wanting to date women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s now is because women know what they want. A lot of women in their 20s don't even want to have sex anymore. There's something going on with the 20-year-olds. I don't know what that is. Anyway, don't automatically think that you have to perform. Sometimes it's actually better in your later age, though, because you know your body. You know what you like. You're more comfortable. You definitely can communicate better. You're far less interested in pretending mediocre sex was fantastic. If the guy sucks at sex, don't fake it. If it wasn't good, don't fake it. Mediocre sex to me is sex that's just always the same over and over again. But you need to liven it up. You both do. Don't fake your orgasms, ladies, because if you fake them, they're going to think that you have them. If you fake your orgasms, a lot of guys can also tell. So you'll have experience later on in life. Your sexual desire is influenced by your brain, your body, sleep, stress, hormones, health, the environment, and your relationship. Remember that desire has so many levels and so many things that will determine whether you want to have sex or not. Remember this, you're not just getting older, you got to investigate, you got to drill down, and remember these specific 5 things. The first thing you need to do is fix your sleep, because that's the foundation. Before assuming your libido is broken, reduce your stress load and your mental overload, and then deal with any resentment outside of the bedroom. Make sure that you guys are on the same page and that you're in a loving relationship. Life is too short, I will say, to be in a relationship where there's not enough love or you're being disrespected. It's just too short. You need to find somebody that will respect you or go to counseling and get the respect back that you need. Create novelty and newness in the bedroom and anticipate. Instead of waiting for spontaneous desire, try to create the desire that you need. Sometimes it takes time to redevelop it. Then get medical for any pain, dryness, or changes to loss of desire and any medication. So I'm kind of wrapping up now, but most importantly, don't stop treating sexuality like something women are supposed to quietly surrender at as they age, because I know so many women that are having amazing sex, ladies. It's amazingly satisfying. A lot of women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, their libido increases. You may just have to learn what turns you on. Instead of trying to recreate how you were in your 20s, just figure out what turns you on and gets you excited. And frankly, you might be a lot more interested in sex now than you ever were before. If this episode made you immediately think of a girlfriend or has said, I just don't want sex anymore, send it to her. Just say, hey, I got something for you. And follow Diva Details for more conversations about love, sex, relationship, success, menopause, and what life really looks like for women over their 40s. Because getting older doesn't mean becoming invisible in life. You should be shining. You should be thriving. And it certainly doesn't mean the fun is over. This is Diva Mia. I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay strong and live large. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We love hearing from you. Visit thedivadetails.com to connect. See you next week for more.
Diva Details podcast and website are intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. The content provided does not constitute professional, medical, financial, or legal advice. We are not licensed medical practitioners, financial advisors, or legal professionals. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any financial topics discussed are based on personal opinions and experience and should not be considered professional advice. The content provided does not constitute legal advice. The Diva Details and its affiliate contributors and guests are not liable for any losses or damages arising from the use of our content. The opinions expressed in the podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organization, sponsors, or partners. All facts discussed in the podcast are researched and accurate to the best of our knowledge at the time of recording. Information may change over time. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements or opinions presented. It is the responsibility of the listener to verify any and all facts that may influence their decision. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.